Uh-huh. Antitrust law. I mentioned the Sherman Act and the Clayton Act, often shortened to antitrust. Yes. Now, as legislative history and case law both disclose the general objective of the antitrust laws is the maintenance of competition. Competition per se thus becomes a goal of the legal order. Yet competition is not a concept which defines itself. Notions about the desirability of competition may shape judgments about how the law should apply, at least at its indistinct edges. Yeah, Handbook of the Law of Antitrust. Oh. Now, let's say, you don't want me to compete, and you don't. You want it. You don't want me to compete, and you used a forgery. Yeah. hmm And then you arrested me, and I wasn't in Squim. No. And you issued a protection order that was issued 48 days after you had a court hearing. Yes. And you served somebody other than myself. Ooh. And you served me in the Squim Public Library. Now, exactly who do you work for? It's not just the payroll, is it? It's the thought that you work for corporations. Now, for every sheriff in Spokane County, you got a problem? For all of you in law enforcement, you have an obligation to enforce the laws, and you can never be bribed to violate those laws. Now, I've been telling these sheriffs and police officers for the last year and a half, yes, that I want my rights enforced. And for some reason, their answer to the problem was to allege that I committed crimes, right, that I hadn't had any involvement in, after I'd told them that my civil rights were being violated. Now, this idea that you're going to fraudulently issue court orders, yes, where the restrained person did not have actual notice and an opportunity to be heard. Yes, that 14th Amendment right. That myself, as the named restrained person, never represented a credible threat to the physical safety of the protected party. No. And the five minors named. Now, when I said, give me custody of my sons, your answer to all of this was, as long as you get paid. Now, your family, yes, went from some local conspiracies, right, where you just don't like me and you had various problems in the past. I didn't have any problems, you did, yes. And then you just thought that you could bribe any person to do anything, yes. And then you could bribe a prosecuting attorney, yes. You could bribe, well, there's a large antitrust violation in all of this. See, when you issue fraudulent mental health evaluations, yeah, and you have the evidence that I wasn't in Squim, yes. This is the kind of thing that corporations do to a competitor, yes, so that they can continue their monopoly. Oh, oh. Now, you notice here, no treatment was ordered. No. Now, that driver's license, pooch. I was looking at a wage garnishment, I think it was, and it had the year 1800 in it. Yes. And I wanted to go through the dates of every court order and all the public court records. Yes. Where if you found a court date, yes, more than 2 to 3 years difference than the actual other dates. It's kind of like if you put 1800, yes, it's obvious to me, yes, that somebody was doctoring the court record. Oh, now when I say I want to sue you and you obstruct me, yes, you're going to get sued for violating antitrust laws. Ouch. Now, a lot of these individuals in the chambers, I only got to 100 of them, and I did a search for the what's known as at. It's an at sign. In fact, why don't we, yes, look for the at sign? It's AT. I'll show you a picture of it. In all of these legal periodicals where you can advertise yourselves as the world's best attorney, yes, the law firm that everybody wants to use. Oh, because I wanted to use these email addresses for myself. I put that on Facebook. I said, do not, and I intentionally meant not, K-N-O-T, do not email these law firms. I personally was wanting to email them because I thought for sure when they found out about antitrust violations, yes, kidnapping, ooch, hate crimes, oh, forgery, ooch, lookalikes and twins, boo, that every one of them would want me to have all their assets. And then I found out that a lot of them are former employees of the federal government. And then I was sure that they wanted me to have every fucking thing they own. I was sure of it. As soon as I had seen that they were employees or had been employees of the federal government. Now, these idiot fucks that think that you can just bribe your way through life, yes, and that you never get arrested, you're never going to prison, pooch, that because you have a badge on, there's nothing I can do as an American citizen. I would say, ooh, that you have been bribed into believing, yes, that your bribery will keep you out of prison. Oh, now there's quite a few leading firms here, yes, and I'm sure the employees of these various firms in the District of Columbia, a lot of them worked on a lot of these laws I've been telling you about. It's kind of like, let's say that you were the actual author of a law that became federal law. And it's a little different than the publications that a lot of the other states use. Yes. hmm Because if you can get your name as having written a law, yeah, when being a federal government employee, you know what the law says. Phew. Now, a lot of these laws, yeah, that are proposed in Congress, yeah, they originate from the attorneys that happen to be the actual employees of the federal government of the various departments of the federal government. And when I think about suing the federal government and its retired attorneys that authored a lot of the laws that I'm talking about, yes, he does not do it. You individuals had a lot to say about what the law.